troubleshooters have learned that an officer at a Louisville Metro Corrections has been arrested on multiple criminal charges.
The officer's accused of helping a man escape after a robbery and shooting. Ward Jollis joins us now with the latest.
John Meyer, the officer's name is Kenita Freeman. LMDC has confirmed to us that Freeman is a corrections officer. We just learned within the past 30 minutes that Freeman turned herself in and was just placed on HIP today. So that's some new information for you. That's for charges of facilitation of assault and facilitation of burglary. Arrest documents say Freeman was the getaway driver for a man named Marquez Barnes, who had allegedly just robbed and shot a man on Southland Boulevard back on January 4th. She then allegedly drove the man back to her home, which is how police connected her to the crime. LMDC tells us she was placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. Freeman and Barnes have both now been arrested and face multiple charges. Freeman will make her first appearance in court sometime tomorrow morning.
A police officer no longer allowed to testify in court, her credibility being called into question.
Now, this comes after 19 Investigates exposed how she mishandled an incident where she and 2 other officers barged into a man's home without a warrant.
Mike Mason broke this story. He has new information for us, all new at 6.
This officer has been with the ELYRIA Police Department for the past 10 years. She's also president of the police union. Now the prosecutor's office has placed her on the Brady list, stating she has a history of making false statements. In May of 2023, 3 ELYRIA police officers stormed the home of Raul Ortiz. Senior Officer Paige Mitchell tased, arrested, and charged Ortiz with 5 felonies. But those charges were later dismissed. And a year later, when 19 Investigates aired Mitchell's body cam footage, she was suspended for mishandling the situation. Now the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office has placed Mitchell on what's called the Brady list, which means she's banned from testifying in court because of credibility issues. 19 Investigates confirmed the Lorain County Prosecutor's former chief of staff placed Mitchell on that list last October. He says Mitchell provided 3 false statements to investigators when questioned about the incident. In one example, when Mitchell was asked why she didn't stop Ortiz's ex-girlfriend from kicking in the door, Mitchell claimed she was distracted because she was having a conversation with the ex's friend. But on Mitchell's body cam footage, it's clear she's the one who told the ex to enter the home.
You've lived here, so if you want to kick the door in and go and get your stuff, you're more than welcome to.
Mitchell was also questioned why she tased Ortiz after he told her he had a heart condition. In her report, she claimed he told her that at the same time she was tasing him. But video shows she actually tased him 5 seconds later. Mitchell also told investigators she handled the incident according to the way she was trained, but the prosecutor's office found Mitchell was taught to stay out of civil cases and let the courts handle them. We reached out to Officer Mitchell for comment, but we haven't heard back. Mike Mason, 19 News.
A former Dillon police officer faces an indecent exposure charge. Dillon police say Cornelius Barr is accused of exposing himself to a woman several times at the Dillon Wellness Center. According to an arrest warrant, the woman took cell phone video of that crime. Dillon Police Chief David Lane told News 13 Barr was not a member of the department at the time of his arrest. We've reached out to the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy to learn how and when Barr stopped working for the department. The Dillon PD asked SLED to investigate the case.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at home on the range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. All right, we had fun last night on the Bad Apple Report After Dark. We're right back to our morning thing this morning. It's not too bad. I don't think we have any diddlers on this morning's show. The ex-sheriff here is among 3 people arrested in Talbot County fire probe. Ooh, what's going on here? Check out these guys. Okay, Justin Johnson, that's him right there, Shiloh, Georgia. We now know that former Talbot County Sheriff Justin Johnson has been charged in connection with a year-long arson case. Okay, JJ, what'd you do? Johnson has been charged with first-degree arson, conspiracy to commit a crime, and insurance fraud, according to the Harris County Sheriff's Office. Oh, he's an entrepreneur. I see. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrested 62-year-old Wallace Copeland and 70-year-old Jimmy Buchanan, both of Manchester, on Friday. They are charged with arson and conspiracy to commit arson. A couple of his co-conspirators there, I presume. Okay, authorities say that the fire happened at a home on Turkey Roost Lane in Shiloh back in November of 2023, and the investigation is still ongoing. And there you have it. You've got an ex-sheriff among 3 who's been arrested. Knucklehead. All right, thanks for being here, folks. Let's move on with the show.
Expecting a better outcome than what we got today.
Ahmad Arbery's family reacting with frustration tonight over the dismissal of the one remaining charge against the former Brunswick District Attorney. I'm Tanika Hughes.
And I'm Ben Becker. Now, we've been following the trial of Jackie Johnson since day one. Now the charge of violating her oath of office has been dropped. Action Jack's Nicholas Brooks is live outside the courthouse in CLINK County. And Nicholas, Arbery's parents told you they hoped for a different outcome.
Yeah, the court, they said they could not believe that Johnson's trial concluded with both charges against her dismissed. But they said at least the 3 men who shot and killed their son remains in prison. The Jackie Johnson trial ended Wednesday morning before jurors had a chance to reach a verdict. Here's a photo of Johnson smiling in court after the judge hearing her case dropped the one remaining charge against her. This came after more than a week of testimony and legal arguments surrounding the former Brunswick District Attorney's actions after Arbery was shot and killed by 3 men while running through their Satilla Shores neighborhood. Johnson was charged with hindering the criminal investigation into the shooting and violating her oath of office.
I thought that we had a guilty verdict. But unfortunately, like I stated earlier, I mean, the law is the law, and the judge had to follow the law.
Wanda Cooper Jones, Ahmad Arbery's mother, reacted to senior judge John Turner's decisions dismissing both counts against Johnson.
And what happened this morning wasn't because she wasn't guilty. It was because of just case law.
But for Ahmad Arbery's family, this is far from closure.
Y'all some sick people. Y'all say.
Ahmad Arbery's family says they are relieved that 3 men convicted of killing him remain in prison.
I'm going to fight to keep them there. I'm going to let them know that when you saw Ahmad running and wasn't doing nothing, you should have let him keep on running.
That's right. Yeah, and right now I'm in conversation with Jackie Johnson's legal team seeking a statement after the ruling. We'll let you know what they have to say either on air or online. For look coverage you can count on. Reporting live in Glenn County, I'm Nicholas Brooks, Action News Jax.
Okay, we have breaking news here, folks. A former Cocoa police officer has been sentenced to 7 years in prison after an armed standoff in Viera. A former Cocoa police officer was sentenced to 7 years in prison Monday as part of a plea deal he took following an armed standoff with law enforcement 2 years prior. Patrick Kelly's his name, age 42, was found guilty of domestic violence, kidnapping with a firearm, and resisting arrest with violence, and will spend 7 years in prison minus time served after Monday's hearing before Judge Charles Crawford at the Viera Justice Center. Brevard County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to Kelly's home in Viera off Framura Lane in December of 2022 after a female Cocoa police officer who also lived at the residence reported that Kelly had threatened her with a firearm and was going through an emotional crisis. Oh, dude. Okay, after the woman fled the home, she told the deputies that Kelly had threatened to hurt her and himself, as well as the responding law enforcement. And Kelly, who was armed at the time, remained barricaded at the home. Oh, goodness. During negotiations with BCSO's SWAT team, Kelly fired multiple rounds inside the home before eventually surrendering. Nobody was hurt in the exchange. As part of his plea deal, Kelly will serve 7 years in state prison, followed by 2 years under house arrest and an additional 6 years of probation. Whoa, dude had a bad day, and it cost him big time. Let's move on with the show.
Another career criminal arrested despite a prolific history of lawlessness. Deputies say this time the repeat offender was wanted for a violent robbery in Olympia.
The Thurston County Sheriff tells Fox 13's Frankie Thompson catching this convicted felon sheds light on a larger issue beyond Thurston County.
Sheriff Derek Sanders says accountability from repeat offenders and the judicial system is lacking. In several counties, there is an issue of repeat offenders being released from custody who go on to commit more crimes. This ongoing problem now has the attention of our state lawmakers this legislative session. If there's one group of suspects the Thurston County Sheriff's Office is tired of catching, it's repeat offenders.
They're mocking our criminal justice system. They're mocking our judges. They're mocking the entire system.
A system that Sheriff Derek Sanders says one man is notoriously familiar with. Tuesday, several agencies arrested him, suspected of a violent robbery in Olympia.
He's got a history of barricading. He's got a history of running from us. If we find him in a car, he likes to go the wrong way down the freeway. So today we found him in a house, barricaded in the attic.
This is just one of several guns deputies say the man was barricaded with inside the house, and it took the county's K-9 unit to get the previously convicted felon to surrender in this case.
He's been bit by just about every canine the sheriff's office has had in the last decade.
Sanders says the suspect has been booked into the Thurston County Jail 18 times, raising questions why someone with years of violent history continues to be released from custody and back on the streets.
They're going right back to reoffending the moment they get out of jail.
It's quite perplexing what's happening right now.
Representative Lauren Davis hearing those frustrations from law enforcement loud and clear. She's sponsoring House Bill 1252 to make it harder for suspects who run from police to get out of jail and increase judicial accountability.
If you have somebody who is known to engage in continued criminal conduct, flaunt the law, flaunt the orders of law enforcement, why are we releasing that person when they are legally able to hold them and they're choosing not to?
36, you take the pursuit.
The bill would force judges to consider suspects who run from police as public safety threats, allowing them to set higher bail. It also requires the judicial officer to explain in writing their decision for setting a lower bail than what prosecutors requested.
I really want judges to have to pause, to be thoughtful in those decisions, and to show their work and to show the public and the community that they are serving how, in their minds, public safety is going to be maintained with this particular defendant out in the community.
This bill was set for a public hearing in front of a public safety committee yesterday, but due to technical problems, that hearing is now planned for next week. Sheriff Sanders will be among the leaders in law enforcement sharing real-life scenarios to support this bill. In the newsroom, Frankie Thompson.
Tonight, a city council meeting in Kentucky turned into a shouting match and then ended abruptly. 10 News reporter Avery Gingerich joining us now with a call for police accountability and a phone call adding a new twist in this case. Avery?
That's exactly right, John. Community members filled the council meeting room. You could feel the tension. There aren't any easy answers to the death of Doug Harless. That's when a phone conversation changed everything. London neighbor James Jones accused most of the London City Council of a conspiracy on Monday night.
The only reason why that Anthony Ortega and Kelly and Judd and Justin and Stacy all agreed to let me speak today is because they thought I was going to stand here and bash the mayor of London.
Activists have been pushing London's leaders for accountability after police officers killed Doug Harless in December. They misidentified Harless's home for another down the street that they had a search warrant for. London's leaders say Harless raised a gun at officers, forcing them to respond.
That we know by law, by statute, that the city police have jurisdiction.
Hey, Jason, you're asking them to make some type of legal conclusion or legal...
This city council meeting is the latest event to stir up tense emotions over Harless's death.
They definitely had an agenda tonight, and it was to not focus on the real problem.
Jamie Burns knows Harless's daughter and has been looking for answers. She planned to speak at the end of the meeting.
The $1 million question is this.
The allegation that council members had their own agenda stopped that.
Randall Weddle before he ran for mayor.
A shouting match led to a rushed end without public comment. I reached out to Councilman Ortega and to London's mayor for comment. Ortega, who called up James Jones, says he's willing to put anyone on the agenda to speak. He thinks freedom of speech is what makes the county great. London's mayor didn't respond by deadline. The Kentucky State Police say there is an ongoing investigation into Doug Harless's death. John?
We'll continue to follow it. Avery Gingerich on the story tonight. Thank you, Avery.
What a day to be this cop. He's the slap on the wrist of the day right here at the Bad Apple Report. He gets off light. Maybe. Former DeSoto officer sentenced to probation for assaulting a handcuffed man. What a loser. Okay, he's out roaming the streets right now, you guys. He's probably in the McDonald's drive-thru ordering up a McFlurry. idiot. St. Louis, Missouri. A former DeSoto police officer has been sentenced to 2 years of probation for assaulting a handcuffed man who was being booked in jail. Okay. Jerk. According to court documents, James Daly of Imperial, Missouri received 3 assault charges in 2020 for grabbing a man's hair while trying to get him to look at the camera during the booking process in jail. Oh, Mr. Impatience. Well, he got probation for that. Cameras inside the booking room also captured him pushing the man and eventually kneeing him to the ground. That's not very nice, but you can do that sort of thing, apparently. No biggie. Daly and former officer Bethany Zarconi then dragged the man down a hallway after trying to pull off his shoes. That's friendly. Another officer, Elena Campbell, was charged with tampering with evidence after she deleted photos she took from the computer during the incident. Ghoul. Okay, that's it. Daly was sentenced to 2 years probation on January 30th, 2025. All righty then. That's him, the luckiest cop on the Bad Apple Report today. Let's move on.
We've already shown you how the Summit County Sheriff's Office has repeatedly failed to notify the public when inmates escape. In this latest case, they claim they didn't have custody of the prisoner, but these records here seem to tell a different story. Last Tuesday, University Heights police arrested 34-year-old Antoinette Henderson for stealing from Target. Since she had an active felony warrant in Summit County, officers contacted the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, when Henderson complained about medical issues, she was taken to University Hospital's main campus in Cleveland. Records show she was not wearing handcuffs. Hospital police say Summit County Deputy Antonio Pacheco arrived to take custody of Henderson. Officers offered to help, but Pacheco reportedly told them he was good and they could go. Police say Henderson then bolted out the door. Multiple agencies were called in to help find her. SCSO told us, "We did not have custody of Miss Henderson upon arrival. She remained in custody of University Hospital." But the hospital's police records state at no time did they take custody of the prisoner. SCSO's records show Pacheco arriving at the hospital around 8:30 p.m. An hour later, he radioed dispatch to say he was out with the female prisoner, meaning he had her in custody. Then at 9:52, 22 minutes later, Pacheco called dispatch again to report that she had escaped. And even though Henderson has been missing for over a week now, SCSO still hasn't notified the public, which is required by state law. 19 Investigates previously exposed how several Summit County inmates escaped custody last year, and SCSO never issued notifications.
What's your name? You want to tell him we got him? What's your name? All right.
That caught the attention of a local lawmaker.
The felony escapes that had been occurring in Summit County that I was unaware of until I had seen those stories.
Representative Bill Romer recently introduced a new bill that would require agencies to notify the public when inmates escape. Those that don't could face potential penalties.
And the public really needs this.
On Wednesday, SCSO said they were not investigating this escape because they didn't have custody of Henderson. But after we showed them the documents we uncovered today, they confirmed this is now under investigation. Meanwhile, Romer's new bill is moving forward. It has already gotten 17 bipartisan co-sponsors. We'll, of course, keep you updated.
There is more tumult at the FBI and Justice Department as a top Justice Department official is trying to assuage concerns among FBI workers that there are going to be mass firings. There's a new memo from Emil Bove. He is the acting Deputy Attorney General here at the Justice Department, and he is trying to provide reassurances to FBI employees that they won't be fired for their participation in January 6 investigations as long as they were following orders and complied with the law. He says, however, that for anyone who acted with what he calls partisan intent, they should be worried about this ongoing, highly unusual review that the Justice Department has embarked on. Now, this memo follows days of deep uncertainty and turmoil inside the FBI over an extraordinary demand last week from the Justice Department for the names of FBI employees who participated in January 6 investigations. You'll remember that President Trump, on his first day in office, pardoned all of the rioters who were charged in connection with January 6. He and his allies contend that the Justice Department is weaponized, and so this effort to review their conduct is a way for the Justice Department to follow Trump's anger and carry out his orders of eliminating what they describe as politicization and weaponization. One other thing that's worth noting is that this memo from Emil Bove describes the current FBI director, Brian Driscoll, as being insubordinate for having initially resisted a demand for information that he had made.
Fortunately, Central Ohio is no stranger to this kind of workplace violence. We had 2 recent incidents in the past few years. Last May, an Amazon worker shot at his supervisor at the fulfillment center in West Jefferson. That employee was later killed in a shootout with police. And back in 2022, a man shot a woman inside the SK Food warehouse in Groveport. There were hundreds of people inside that building when this shooting happened.
In that moment, how do we stay safe?
So, let's take a step back. What can we do? I think there is actually a few things that can be done on the front end of it to help prevent these things. Again, the see something, say something, as well as, security checkpoints, IDs, that kind of stuff, or notifications of employees that were terminated.
And that's Deputy Mike Featheroff, who leads the CRAZE program for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, which stands for Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events. He says along just as critical as knowing how to avoid, deny, and defend yourself from an active shooter is how to give workers that sense of safety.
I'll say the biggest mistake is a lack of preparedness on the company's part, where they don't have a plan in place for how they're going to return to work.
After 31 years of service, including 12 years as assistant police chief, and in the past year, police chief for the town of Grand Coteau, Michael Buck has announced that he is stepping down from his role. Why have you decided to leave this position as chief of police for Grand Coteau?
Actually, it is the demand of the job, the time that it entails, the amount of stress involved in trying to handle a department, work a shift, and I also have 2 homicide cases that are mine that I'm working on, and I promised those families that I would see it through.
In addition to handling major cases, Chief Buck has been managing personnel issues and patrolling. He also shared his thoughts on the challenges facing the department.
And our shortage of personnel, it's a very difficult position. And to be quite honest, I don't think I've accomplished much of anything since being appointed chief.
Why do you feel that way?
Well, I've been here 31 years. I know what the department needs, what needs to be done, and I'm not getting there. I don't know if it's because I'm a road officer. That's what I'm good at. Sitting behind a desk and managing personnel, people, and other things, that's really not my thing.
While Chief Buck acknowledged there are ongoing personnel issues within the department, he declined to go into further detail about the specifics. Buck took over as police chief last June after former chief Jeffrey Gilbo pleaded guilty to 3 felonies.
I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and my doctor told me that my stress levels are through the roof. So having to be chief of police, working a regular shift, and managing the other things need to be done, I think that somebody else might be better for the job.
Now, I did reach out to the mayor regarding this matter. However, as of news time, I have not heard back yet. However, I did reach out to the Alderman Devin Thompson from City Council here in Grand Coteau, and he tells me that the council plans to hear about Chief's resignation at a later council meeting scheduled in February. He also went on to tell me that the council plans to appoint a new interim chief in the meantime. But for right now, reporting in Grand Coteau, I'm Paris Flanagan, your Southern Parish reporter, KATC TV3.
Okay, that's a wrap. And you are my favorite people. And I want to thank you again for watching the Bad Apple Report this morning. And I hope you're taking good care of your health and you feel good. Spring's coming, you guys. It's going to be awesome. Okay? But tomorrow's coming even faster. That means another batch of Bad Apples at 7:30 a.m. bright and early. I hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow morning.